25 years ago, BMW created a legend with the very first M3, a standard production car homologated for racing and a car that would eventually become an icon. The whole concept of the M car was basically power, race-tuned suspension, but a car that you could use on the road. 4 generations later, the M3 is still around. It's a lot quicker, it's a lot heavier, a lot bigger, and a lot more powerful. We've got all 4 generations of the M3 right here at the Ascari racetrack, a privately owned circuit in Spain, and we're going to get a sense of what this M3 legend is all about. The backdrop to the celebration of the M3's 25th anniversary was Ascari, a 5.4-kilometre-long privately owned racing circuit in the Andalusian hills above Malaga. It's a superb track, the longest in Europe, with a mix of fast and twisty sections. Wealthy owners of fast cars can join the Ascari Club and participate in track days at its superior facilities, which also include accommodation and a clubhouse. We are not wealthy and we don't own any supercars, but we had the run of Ascari for a whole day, plus 4 generations of M3 to play with, 5 if we count in the spectacular GTS. But let's start off with a car that created the original M3 legend. This is where it all began, the original BMW M3. Hard to believe now, looking at this very chunky, boxy-looking car, that this was cutting-edge stuff, but it certainly was. And in fact, if you get behind the wheel of this car, it is every bit as entertaining as it must have been 25 years ago. Driving this car is understanding the DNA of all M cars. A fast, entertaining, accomplished vehicle that puts a big grin on your face. And certainly, this car still does exactly that. The original M3 boasted a 2.3-litre 4-cylinder engine, a 5-speed manual gearbox with a dogleg first gear and rear-wheel drive. It was homologated to pave the way for BMW's entry into Group A touring car racing, and the result is a chunky, muscular-looking two-door with a bold rear wing, lower extended sills and blistered wheel arches. The 4-cylinder 16-valve engine set new performance standards for a production unit at the time, spinning all the way to 6,750 RPM and pumping out a muscular 147 kilowatt of maximum power, together with a thumping 240 newton meters of torque. Factory figures credit the first generation M3 with a 237 km/h top speed and a 0 to 100 time of 6.7 seconds. Through Ascari's curves and corners, this original M3 feels much friskier than its 25-year-old vintage suggests. It has the edge and attack of a race car with razor-sharp steering and incisive throttle response, and it still gathers speed with an alacrity that's astounding. I could have spent all day piloting this car, but back in the pits, the clock was ticking and there was more M3 machinery to sample. Second on our list was the E36-based M3, which upped the ante with a move to a 6-cylinder engine with commensurate improvements in power and torque. BMW assembled various examples of each model for our perusal and also linked the track experience to a road route, allowing us to experience the cars in real-world driving conditions too. The E36-based M3 was the second in the overall M3 lineage, but for South Africans, it was the first time they got to savour an M3 at first hand. Behind me, of course, a convertible version, which we did have in South Africa. It was also a tin top, and in fact, there was even a 4-door. From a driving perspective, this is perhaps the most user-friendly of all the M3s. Feels surprisingly soft and easy to cope with, nothing edgy, not like the previous car and not like the ones that followed. 6-cylinder engine, pretty nice car, but not my own personal choice. It's certainly a lot easier to pilot at speed than the older car. The suspension is more pliant, the steering more forgiving, the ride smoother and more refined, but it's still a thoroughbred and one with a fair turn of speed. The straight-six engine was considered one of the world's best at the time. 210 kilowatts of max power and 320 newton meters of torque, all from only 3 litres. Drive to the rear wheels is via a 6-speed manual gearbox. The Mark II M3 is able to complete the 0 to 100 dash in 6 seconds flat, while top speed is limited to 250 kilometers an hour. From past to present and from road car to pure racing machine, the M3 DNA is also perpetuated in bespoke machines such as this one, the M3 GT2, a 375 kilowatt monster that made its debut in this year's Le Mans 24-hour. This example is also the latest BMW art car with bright livery created by artist Jeff Koons. The next M3 on our list is the M46-based car, which still looks attractive and fast to this day. But first, we have to pay the bills. So we'll be back after the break with more M3 action from Ascari. Welcome back to the Ascari circuit in Spain, where BMW recently celebrated 25 years of M3 by letting us loose in pristine examples of all 4 generations of the car, including this one, the third member of the glorious M3 dynasty. The third generation M3 was based on the E46 3 Series in coupe form only, and it was also the most popular M3 of its time, selling more than 80,000 units. Significant also about this car was that it was the last 6-cylinder M3, and also that it spawned a car called the CSL, which many still believe is one of the greatest M3s